Okay, picking back up where we last left off at Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, Chapter 5. Here we go. The sun has begun to rise, a blazing orange pumpkin totem against the hazy skyline. I I woke with a jolt, scrambling to my feet. I've been gone all night. Surely Jack's been worried, pacing the house, wondering what happened to me. Zero, who must have fallen asleep next to me, makes a cartwheel loop around me, anxious, and when we leave the cemetery, making our way past the old, lopsided houses from Lock, Stock, Barrel lives. I thought they lived at Oogie's house. Ugh. These clawfoot bathtubs set in the leech grass below the treehouse, but as I get closer, I see that it's not empty. There's something inside, or some things. Lock, stock, and barrel. All three of them are slumbering in the white porcelain bathtub, eyes closed, and they snore loudly like the undead. They're asleep in their bathtub. I peer over the edge of the bathtub, certain will it's well after sunup, and Lock, Stock, and Barrel are usually stirring up mischief at the first sign of daylight. They don't want to miss a single hour of mayhem making, ghost tormenting, and pumpkin tipping. So why are they still asleep? Their Halloween masks lie at their feet, and their real faces are stained like they were caught mid-laugh, mid-scream at the moment they fell asleep. Shock, I say, nudging her in the shoulder, but she only groans drowsily, then slumps deeper into the bathtub. As I lean closer, I notice something else. Sand. They're covered in it. In their hair and down the sleeves of their shirts, even on their masks. This might seem strange, except nothing where Lock, Shock, and Barrel is even that unusual. I wonder what sort of tricks they've been up to, out playing in the bog of sand somewhere, and now they're so tired they can't even blink an eyelid open. Zero's nose twitches, but he doesn't move any closer to the tub. He prefers to steer clear of Oogie's boys, as does nearly everyone in Halloween Town. I leave the trio in their slumber and continue on up the gray stone path, but the closer I get to the edge of town, I feel the leaves inside my chest begin to clamber up into my throat. A knot of nerves, anxiety, knowing that as soon as I spotted by corpse, kid, and mama boy, or any of the others A crowd will gather around me, tugging at my already frayed arm, snapping out of focus photos. Queen, queen, they will shout. The witch sisters and the vampire prince will drag me back to my home, where they will resume their prodding and poking, like furious with me for running away. Likely furious with me for running away. I quickly make my peace up the path, hoping to make it home unseen. But when I enter the east edge of the town and hurry down the alleyway behind the old slanted tool shed where the behemoth makes his home, sleeping on a small cot between graveyard shovels and pickaxes, I sense the quiet. The chill of no voices, no footsteps. I step through the long silent shadows of the alley and into the town square. The air is perfectly still, silent as a morgue. No wind howling through the hollow doorways, no rattling bones from the skeleton tree, no accusers or saxophone echoing up the street from the corpse band. Accordion or saxophone echoing up the street from the corpse band. God dang it. The town should be bustling and hectic with Halloween less than 2 weeks away. Cobwebs and ghost silhouettes begin constricting screams to make practice. Gravestone carved and coffin heaving up from the cemetery, heaved up from the cemetery. The town should be as jolting chorus of action. Instead, it feels like a place populated by the dead. The real dead. I like how she had to be very specific there. The never going to rest again kind of dead. Zero hovers close at my side, sensing something isn't right. Carefully, quietly, I walk to the center of the town. What did Lock, Stock, and Barrel do? I think they must be to blame for whatever has happened. A terrible aching stirs in the pit of my stomach, where last pins and threads gather in a triangle, sometimes poking me from the inside out, warning me when something doesn't feel quite right. So, does she have like ESP or something? You know what? I'm getting off topic. But then across the town square, I spot the vampire prince and the three vampire brothers, all slumped beside the jagged stone edge of the fountain. Their four ruby black umbrellas laying on the ground beside them, still open but useless, while the morning sun shines against the vampires' pale, delicate faces. I run to the vampire prince's side, my shoes crackling against the stone and heel down to touch his small white hand, fingernails growing out into a sharp point, the better to puncture his victim's throat and drain them of their blood. Okay. A soft spout leaves his lips, chest raising with an inhale. He's asleep along with his brothers, just like Lock, Stock, and Barrel. I wonder, unsure why they'd be sleeping out here beneath the cruel sun, when I noticed something scattered over their inky black capes from a glistening that dusts the ground and their translucent skin. I run my fingers along the edge of the vampire prince's cape, feeling the tiny grains that cling to my fabric. Sand, just like I found in the bathtub with Lock, Stock, and Barrel. The breath catches in my chest and I stand up, taking a staggering step. This feels all wrong. Even in a place like Halloween Town, where the darkness can make sinister shapes of the most humdrum 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 objects. Humdrum objects, where a cold wind is always numbing at the back of your neck, finding the vampire brothers, Lock, Stock, and Barrel, all sound asleep feels like a different type of wrong. I slip down a dark, dark rabbit hole kind of wrong.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have opened that door, Sally. You ever stop and think about that for a second?
Okay. Why are they all asleep? I say to Zero. He floats over the brothers, sniffing at their closed eyelids, which reminds me of Black Threader? Yeah, Threader contains pulled shut. Shutter. Okay. Curtains pulled shut. Curtains pulled shut. Then Zero turns quickly, darting back to my side. The layer of sand, the sleeping vampires, it's all frightening him for some reason, and it's starting to frighten me. I lift my gaze, blowing out a slow, silent breath, and up the street. I notice someone slumped against the steps of Town Hall. There are more. I I'm starting to think that Lock, Stock, and Barrel didn't have anything to do with this after all. Sorry about that. I cross the town square quickly and find the mayor half sitting, one elbow bent against the hard stone step. He looks like he could be sunbathing, soaking up the golden morning light, except his eyes are shuttered tight, and there's a fine layer of sand scattered over him, just like the others. I touch his arm carefully, and he teeters to one side. wobbling a bit like he's going to slide all the way down the stone steps, but then his body settles again. Still, he didn't wake.
Uh, so it's a death sleep. Cool.
My fingers hover like the sleeves of his coat. My fingers hovering over the sleeves of his coat, wanting to touch the grains of sand scoop them up into my palm and feel their weight. I need to understand what it is, but something in me resists, screams at me to leave the sand where it is. Something is terribly, awfully wrong. I feel Hilgren and Zeldaborn asleep. I find them asleep in front of the Witch Sisters' apothecary. Helgrim with her broomstick still clutched in her fingers, but I don't bother trying to wake them. I'd rather let them sleep anyway. Wolfman is dozing softly beside the path that leads up to Dr. Finkelstein's observatory. He exhales, muttering words I can't make out. I continue past him without thinking, my feet carrying me back to the place that was once my home, and I push open the door to Dr. Finkelstein's lab. Before I've even realized where I am, I find Dr. Finkelstein sitting at his work table in a strange tilt to his head, a broken test tube on the floor, glass shattered around his chair. Igor, his assistant, is hunched in the corner, bone biscuit chomps chomps on the chunks on the floor around him. Oh, it was crumbles. Crumbles around him. I step over Igor and head into the kitchen. Dr. Finkelstein's wife, Julie. Hey! He did make a wife. I knew he did. Is lying on her side next to the stove, a pot of something that smells like thyme and rotten eggs boiling over. I turn off the heat and try arousing Julia with the toe of my shoe, but she makes some faint snort, then resumes her impossibly deep sleep. My chest tightens. Wrong, wrong, wrong. This is all wrong. Why did you go check on them instead of your husband first, Sally? Whatever. Dr. Finkelstein often accused me of too much daydreaming, a mind that swirls with fairy tales thoughts, but I am also practicing logical. I like science and well researched, well reasoned outcomes, but whatever has happened to the residents of Halloween Town doesn't make any sense. Potion or pearl? Pearl? Pearl. Potion or pearl? Something strange conjuring has put the whole town to sleep. Yet for some reason unknown, I'm still awake. Zero hovers in the kitchen doorway, whimpering. He doesn't like the cold of Dr. Finkelstein's lab. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like any of this. He wants to see Jack. Jack. uh, you're not alone. Zero's still awake. Does this stuff like not affect the ghosts? Or is this You know what? Moving on. I'm sorry. The leaves stir wildly in my chest, and I sprint from the lab and dart across the town square, Zero fluttering alongside me. Past residents slumbered and sagged, and corpse collapsed where they had stood. I slam open the gates and run up the stone path to the house. The front door has been left ajar, and its thuds back against the wall as I push my way through. I check Jack's office first, empty. His sketches and corruptions plan for Halloween has been left scattered across the table. A few tumble onto the floor. I turn around and run to the spiral stairs to our bedroom. My footsteps throw echoes across the stone walls. And when I find him, my stomach drops to my toes. Jack is lying beside the open window that overlooks the town. Black moon eyes closed, mouth agape, just slightly dead asleep. I sink into the floor next to him. Jack, I wipe away the fine layer of sand from his cold cheekbones, trying to hold back the sobs in my chest. Jack, please wake up. I shake him, touching his face, trying to force his eyelids open, but he only makes a soft, muttering sound, mouth slack. A desperate panic aches tugs against my eardrums, and I squeeze his limp hand. Finding the others asleep is unnerving, but seeing Jack lying beside the window, unmoving as the rest, makes me feel like I'm about to break apart. Dead leaves bursting through my fabric chest. Tears begin to stream down my cheeks, landing on the floor into tiny, salty puddles. I need you to wake up. I shake him again, desperately, but his arms hang like dead branches at his side. Zero drifts closer to Jack, nudging him on the cheek. But it makes no difference. Jack is asleep just like the others, and there's no waking him up. Wow, I got through that pretty fast. Only got 4 words I horribly screwed up. Alright, well, that's the end of Chapter 5. We'll be picking up Chapter 6 at a later date. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. It really helps my channel grow. I really do appreciate it. And stay tuned for more to come. Thank you for your time, everybody, and have a beautiful day.